Number 5. Christopher McNab, October 7, 2017. Covington, Georgia. A mother called 911 in a panic. Her 15-day-old daughter was missing. She said someone had broken into their home during the night and taken the baby. The next day, searchers found the body of infant Kalia McNab in a wooded area less than a quarter-mile from the trailer park where her parents lived. She was wrapped in a blue cloth and placed beneath a log. She was 15 days old. The medical examiner's findings were devastating. Kalia had died from blunt force trauma to the head. Her skull had been fractured multiple times. In a detail that the medical examiner stated at trial, one that stopped the courtroom cold, the force of the injuries had caused the infant's teeth to push through her gums. Investigators turned their attention to the parents. Christopher McNab and Courtney Bell had reported the child missing. They maintained from the very beginning that someone had broken in, that they had been asleep, that they had nothing to do with it. But the evidence spelt a different story. Prosecutors established that both McNab and Bell had been using methamphetamine in the days and hours surrounding Kalia's death. The home was described as filthy. The relationship between them was violent. McNab had physically abused Bell. And the investigators noted one more detail that prosecutors would later emphasize in court. McNab and Bell were first cousins. The prosecution was blunt. During closing arguments, the district attorney told the jury that child was doomed the moment they left that hospital. They took pure innocence and brought that child into a life of hell. The jury deliberated for approximately 1 hour. They returned 8 guilty verdicts against McNab, including malice murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, 2 counts of child cruelty, and concealing the death of another. Then came the sentencing. Judge John Ott looked at McNab and asked him a question that has since traveled far beyond that Newton County courtroom. The judge asked McNab if he were truly innocent and someone else had killed his daughter, what sentence would he give that person? McNab said the maximum sentence. Judge Ott gave it to him. Life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 10 years. Christopher McNab was already a Heinze State Prison inmate. He had been returned there on a probation violation before his trial even began. He went back, this time permanently. The Georgia Supreme Court later upheld his conviction in full. Every appeal has been denied. McNab maintains to this day that he did not kill his daughter. And somewhere inside Heinze State Prison, a man who asked for the maximum sentence for someone else is now living it himself.
Number 4. Guy Heinze Jr. He was 22 years old. The call came in at 8:15 in the morning. His voice was breaking apart on the other end of the line. "My whole family is dead." Police received the 911 call from Guy Heinze Jr. on August 29, 2009. When they arrived at the New Hope Mobile Home Park in Glynn County, Georgia, they found 7 people dead and 2 others critically injured. One of the injured, 19-year-old Michael Toller, died the following day in hospital. 8 people killed in a single wide mobile home in a single night. The dead included Heinze's own father, Guy Heinze Sr., 45, Rusty Toller Sr., 44, along with 4 of his children, Toller's sister, Brenda Gale Falligan, 49, and Joseph West, 30. The sole survivor was a 3-year-old boy who suffered severe head injuries. A toddler, the only one left. The injuries to the victims were so severe that responding officers initially believed all of them had been shot. They had not. The weapon of choice was blunt, methodical, and silent, moving through the home while everyone slept. Prosecutors argued that a fight over a bottle of prescription painkillers had ignited the massacre. that Heinze killed the first person who resisted, then moved through the house, killing each person who could place him at the scene. Evidence presented included Michelle Toller's bloody cell phone found in Heinze's car, a shotgun bearing Heinze's bloody palm print found in the blood of a victim, and blood on Heinze's shorts and shoes matched to 4 of the deceased. The defense fought back hard. Forensic experts testified that a single person could not have committed all 8 killings without someone escaping, that a former police detective estimated the attack required 3 to 5 perpetrators. The lead prosecutor himself acknowledged during the trial that the case was entirely circumstantial, that no evidence directly placed Heinze at the crime scene during the murders. The jury deliberated. Then they convicted. On October 25, 2013, Guy Heinze Jr. was found guilty of all 8 murders and sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. The Georgia Supreme Court upheld the conviction on December 7, 2020. Guy Heinze Jr. is listed among the notorious inmates held at Heinze State Prison. He has never stopped claiming he is innocent. His wife has campaigned publicly for years to reopen the case. No murder weapon was ever definitively recovered. 8 graves, 1 survivor who cannot speak to what he saw, and a man in Georgia's prison system who says the wrong person is locked up while the real killers have never been found. Whether that's true or not, the question itself never quite goes away.
Number 3. Travis McMichael. February 23, 2020, a Sunday. A man put on his running shoes and jogged through his neighborhood in southeast Georgia. He was 25 years old. He had done this hundreds of times before. He would not finish his run. Ahmaud Arbery was murdered during a racially motivated hate crime while jogging in Satilla Shores, near Brunswick, Georgia. 3 white men pursued him in pickup trucks for several minutes, using the vehicles to block his path as he tried to run away. Travis McMichael and his father Gregory were armed in one truck. Their neighbor, William Roddy Bryan, followed in a second vehicle. After the trucks cut off Arbery's escape, Travis exited his truck and pointed a shotgun at Arbery. A physical altercation followed. Travis McMichael shot and killed Ahmaud Arbery. Bryan recorded the shooting on his cell phone. For 74 days, nothing happened. No arrests, no charges. The McMichaels and Bryan were arrested only after the cell phone footage of the shooting leaked online, and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation took over the case from local police. A former Brunswick district attorney was later indicted, accused of directing that Travis McMichael should not be arrested, allegedly shielding him because of Gregory McMichael's former law enforcement ties. The leaked video reached every corner of the country. It became one of the defining images of 2020. Arriving during a summer already convulsed by questions about race, policing, and who is presumed dangerous in America. At trial, Travis McMichael testified he fired in self-defense when Arbery attacked him. Investigators found no evidence Arbery had committed any crime in the neighborhood. All 3 men were convicted. Travis and Gregory McMichael received life sentences. Both denied any possibility of parole. Then came the federal hate crimes trial. In August 2022, Travis McMichael was sentenced to an additional life term, plus 10 years, for committing a federally classified hate crime. Travis's own attorney begged the sentencing judge to allow her client to serve his time in federal prison, warning he had received hundreds of threats and would likely be killed in Georgia's state custody. The judge denied the request. Travis McMichael is currently held at Heinze State Prison in Trion, Georgia. He asked for protection from the violence of state prison. He was sent to Heinze, a facility where inmates have been strangled in their beds, stabbed in the corridors, and murdered during lockdown. A facility whose own history features a man who killed inside its walls, not once, but as a pattern that stretched across multiple decades and multiple prisons. Number 2. Daniel Luke Ferguson. There is a particular kind of dread that comes from learning that a killer did not stop when the walls closed around him, that the sentence changed nothing, that the cage, as it turned out, was not a cage at all. Daniel Luke Ferguson was 17 years old when he first took a human life. He was living in Monroe, Georgia, in Walton County. His neighbor was 94 years old. Ferguson entered a guilty plea for the January 28, 2008 murder of his 94-year-old neighbor, Tim Daniels. Convicted of murder, aggravated assault, burglary, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. He was sentenced to life in prison. He was 18 years old when he walked into Georgia's prison system. He would never walk out as a free man. But the killing was not finished. Ferguson was housed at Heinze State Prison. It was there, inside the facility, that his violence resurfaced in a way that exposed the catastrophic dysfunction rotting through Georgia's correctional infrastructure. In December 2013, inmate Damian McLean was strangled and beaten in his bed at Heinze State Prison on Christmas night after the doors to his cell should have been locked. Should have been, but weren't. McLean's family alleged that the locks on the cell doors were broken or could be defeated with a single napkin, and that this failure of basic security was how Ferguson gained access to McLean's cell in the middle of the night. The family filed a lawsuit against the Georgia prison system. In November 2019, they settled for $350,000. Ferguson was charged with McLean's murder. He was transferred. The transfer did not end the killing, it relocated it. But before we get to what happened next, there is something important to understand about Heinze State Prison itself, not just who it holds, but what it is. This is a facility where in an 8-week period beginning in December 2012, 4 inmates were killed, where guards have been stabbed, where cell doors routinely failed to lock, where inmates moved freely through the prison campus at night, undetected, where the state's own inspection process was reportedly gamed, officers called in from off-duty shifts to make staffing appear adequate whenever Atlanta inspectors arrived. Ferguson's time at Heinze did not transform him, it didn't contain him, it handed him the conditions under which he could kill again, a broken lock, an unsupervised night, a system that could not protect the people inside it. The question that follows Daniel Luke Ferguson is the same question that hangs over Heinze State Prison itself. If the walls cannot stop what happens inside, what exactly are they for?
Number 1. Theron Hendrix. September 4, 2013. White Oak, Georgia. A woman failed to show up for work. That was the first sign something was wrong. When deputies from the Camden County Sheriff's Office went to conduct a welfare check at her home on McKinnon Road, a remote, isolated dirt road with no other houses, 2 miles from the nearest intersection, they found 49-year-old Emily Drury lying dead on the floor. At first, investigators thought she had died from natural causes. Then the autopsy came back. Emily Drury had been shot. Her death was ruled a homicide. The house sat at the end of a road that dead-ended just past it. Whoever had been there that night had known exactly where they were going, or had stumbled upon it in chance in one of the most isolated stretches of Camden County. Either possibility was deeply unsettling. There were no neighbors, no witnesses, no immediate suspects. The investigation stalled, then stalled again and again. The reward money climbed, $5,000, then $10,000, then $20,000, then $30,000. Billboards went up on Georgia roads with Emily Drury's photograph. A dedicated room at the Camden County Sheriff's Office was assigned for her case alone, lined with files and photographs reviewed by at least one investigator every single day, to keep thinking, to keep looking. For 4 years, no arrest was made.
Then, in 2016, a young man named Theron Hendrix was taken into custody in Savannah after an anonymous tip from a concerned citizen who spotted him near the scene of a recent incident. When investigators pulled his background, what they found was deeply troubling: the profile of a dangerous predator who had been operating across Georgia, largely undetected. Between 2014 and 2016, Hendrix had committed a series of violent offenses against multiple victims in Savannah, including kidnapping and attacks against a 26-year-old woman, a 16-year-old girl, and an attempted assault against a 13-year-old girl. The attacks were calculated and targeted. He was preparing to strike again when the anonymous tip brought his freedom to an end. In June 2017, a Chatham County jury convicted Hendrix on 12 counts connected to those Savannah offenses. At sentencing, Judge Louisa Abbott delivered remarks that were rare in their directness. She stated from the bench that she had never encountered such compelling evidence of future dangerousness in all her years on the court. She had no doubt, she said, that this individual should never be given the opportunity to re-enter society. Hendrix was transferred to Heinze State Prison to begin serving those sentences. And then something unexpected happened. The FBI's Combined DNA Index System, the national forensic database where biological evidence from unsolved cases sits waiting for a match, returned a result that stopped investigators cold. The DNA recovered from Emily Drury's crime scene in White Oak matched Theron Hendrix. In February 2018, while already serving multiple life sentences inside Heinze State Prison, Hendrix was indicted by a Camden County grand jury on charges of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, and first-degree burglary in connection with the 2013 killing of Emily Drury. The case had gone cold for more than 4 years. The reward had climbed to $30,000. The billboard was still standing on a Georgia highway, and the answer had been sitting inside a state prison the entire time, already convicted, already contained, already serving life for other crimes. Emily Drury went to work every morning. She lived alone on a road that dead-ended past her house. She did nothing to invite what happened to her. The man responsible for her death was not identified through a tip, a witness, or a confession. He was identified because the forensic database finally caught up to him, because the evidence from that isolated dirt road had been waiting patiently for the right moment to speak. Investigators have noted that Hendrix may have been connected to additional incidents beyond those for which he was formally charged. As of this recording, those potential cases remain open and unresolved, which raises the question that follows this case wherever it goes, the question that may never have a clean answer. How many times did Theron Hendrix drive down an isolated road, look at what was at the end of it, and simply keep going?